Hi, good evening, everybody. Oops. Start. I'm Peter Gay McDonald, and as Nicole said, I have had 3 children going through the AIM program, and yes, I did return time after time after time. So I have my 3 children are very close in age. They're very different in personalities, and so they would require different approaches, right? And different, Nicole was able to align them with tutors and counselors who would best suit their different personalities. I have one who is outgoing, one who is more reserved, just very different, 3 very different children. And as I said, they went through tutoring as well as the college counseling. And each time, the personalities were taken into consideration, and we were able to achieve all we needed to for them. The 3 times the college process was very overwhelming. It's just so different, and it's just so much compared to my time. And AIM really, the counselors really held my hand as a parent and the child's hand. And just as Nicole said, I have 2 boys and a girl in the middle. And the boys do need reasoning and drape up sometimes, right? And so going through the application itself was just very involved, and we were helped with that. But the essays also, we were also guided. The students would write and submit and get edits, and it was really the process was made much more comfortable with AIM along with us. It wasn't just dealing with the students, it was the financial aid side of it, that we were handheld again and well guided, and finding the right fit for 3 very different personalities year after year, like really and truly back to back. Again, it was superbly handled by AIM. Each child was, they really get to know the child. And they're also involved in sports. So 2 were involved in sports. So all these different facets were taken into consideration by AIM. And their application form the applications were completed and well packaged. And my 3 children got into their first choice, and I really couldn't ask for any better. In fact, the connection doesn't just stop after the college application, because the 3 of them will reach out to Auntie Nicole. Well, they're coming to me with questions, and I'm like, what's up, Nicole? So the 3 of them will reach out to her, and she's always willing to advise. And I really could not, I can't big up AIM anymore than they really they checked all the boxes for me as a parent, as well as for the students, the children, my children. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Peter, what would you say was the most surprising thing about college admissions for you as a parent that you think other parents should be prepared for?
The most surprising, the financial aid information, that was you assume that you will get a certain package or a certain amount of money, and it's not necessarily so. The application, the depth of the application was really surprising. I guess some persons do it on their own, and with the first child, I tried to do it. We tried to do it alone, but no, it really requires professional eyes and professional help. So the depth and the financial aid was most surprising, I would think.
If you had to do it all over again, which don't worry, you don't have to. But if you did, what would you do you think? Or
what would I do? What? I didn't hear you.
What would you do differently, if anything? Is there anything you would do differently? Any different?
Yes, you preach it all the time. Start early, start early, start early. And it is so real. Start early. And you would think after the first, after the second, start early. The earlier, the better. It just goes much more smoothly, just more stress-free. I would come right back to AIM with 3 more, if however many more. Yeah, I would really, the big thing is to start early. As the parents, get all the information, your financial information, get a head start on that. And then have the students start interacting with the advisors as early as they can, and start application process. Also, go through. So I wasn't very aware of all the different colleges. Some persons are quite up to date with that. And so again, it really would make sense. It would be helpful if you prepared yourself, again, by starting early to just really familiarize yourself with all the different colleges prior to meeting with the advisors. And then once the advisors do create the lists, certainly dig deep on the websites and really try to educate yourself, because the child, your child, and that would help a lot with the best fit.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Do any parents or students have any question for this triple time awardee? If you had 3 more, you bring them all back to A. One of my favorite.
Right back.
5 children, if you would believe that. Back to back 5. And year after year, it'll be more and more and more and more. And then, it was just the end of an era when that 5th one, it was real. All right, we have a question for you. Sabrika has a question. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, firstly. I just wanted to ask, which schools do you think are best, in terms of giving financial aid to international students?
Okay, so that wouldn't be a question that way. I'm going to explain how financial aid works in a second. It's not that simple to answer as a lot of these sort of questions are not as simple as you imagine to answer. And so I think that's a nice segue though. That question is a really nice segue into the conversation that we're gonna have. I sort of prepped you for the conversation with the last email that I said. Well, by the way, let me just say thank you so much, Dr. Peter Gay McDonald. Just to do a shameless plug, if you are ever looking for the coolest looking sunglasses. Everybody wants to know where I got my glasses, by the way. I have perfect vision, so I did not need tested glasses. But if you do, Optical Elements is certainly the place to go. Okay. Janine, you'd remember that Optical Elements was a sponsor of the Gold Accelerator Retreat Mykonos, Greece. And Janine was there. Okay. And so partly powered by Optical Elements. So if you're ever in Jamaica, or if you're in Jamaica, that is where we go to get all our eye needs met. And Dr. McDonald is the proprietor, the owner of said lovely place there near Hafford.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much. You're one of my favorite AIM moms forever. So thank you for your time. And I know
my absolute pleasure, Nicole.
The traffic right now. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
All right, Sabrika, you segued us perfectly into our next piece of the conversation, which is going to talk about the system. We're going to talk about the system of college admission. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I don't even really need to share my screen, but let me go ahead because I want to just give everybody a definition of what a system is so that when I'm talking, we kind of are following along this framework, which, as I said, is super useful for understanding the process. All right, so what is a system? A system is an organized set of components that are basically designed to work together to achieve specific goals. And with the college admission system, the reason why I think it's so important to look at it as a system is because there are all these different moving parts. And am I sharing the right screen? Sorry, I just have that concern. Hold on. Yes, I am. Okay, perfect. Is because there are all these different moving parts and one thing depends on the other. So a lot of times, you know, parents want to know, ask questions, or students ask questions, and I always say it depends because all the things sort of connect and relate to each other. So I'm going to just give you a breakdown of the main components of the system and then how they connect and relate to each other. And then Chelsea and Brianna will jump in to speak to some specifics. And then, of course, Dominique is going to speak to the specifics of the SAT. So let us go right ahead on that. So first and foremost, and I hope if you need, this is the kind of, it's gonna feel like a little class, okay? And if you feel like, I would actually strongly advise that you take notes, actually. Anyway, what is the first thing? Colleges look at academics. Colleges, universities are academic institutions first and foremost. And there are some universities that only look at academics, okay? They're not looking any further than what your grades are and whether you have the prerequisites for the major that you want to study. And if you meet their academic criteria, you're basically in. I don't know if we have anybody here. Can you comment in the chat by saying yes? If there's anybody here who is interested in studying in Canada or the UK or the Caribbean. Anybody here who is looking at any of those places? Caribbean, UK, or Canada? Let me see in the chat. Say yes. No, looks like we're all headed to the USA. All right, then. Sounds like a plan. All right. Oh, we do. Okay, we do. So for the Caribbean, the UK, and Canada, the system is very simple because it is all about the academic profile. And so when we look at the academic profile, that is a big component of the system. And within the academic profile, there are some little sub areas. So your grades, GPA, grade point average, which is out of a 4.0 normally. There are some schools where harder classes are weighted more. So even though it is on a 4.0 scale in most places, there are some schools where you can have a 4.3 GPA. So because you're taking harder classes and they weigh the harder classes a bit more. There are some schools that don't work on a GPA, a 4.0 GPA at all. I went to boarding school and the highest grade was a 6. And you know, so a 6 was really great, a 5 was like also very good, etc. But what colleges do anyway, no matter what scale you are on, is that they recalculate your GPA. So a lot of students and parents don't realize that. But the GPA is important. The grades that you get on the transcript are important. Within the transcript, colleges also look at the trend in your grades. So they want to know that as the work gets successively harder, you show a greater level of achievement, of focus, and your grades get better as you go along. So they're looking for that trend in GPA. I also spoke to the types of courses that you take. We have students who are on different educational systems at AIM. We have students who are on what we call an International Baccalaureate program, IB. We have students on a CAPE program, that's Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Exam, and they're through the Caribbean, which is the Caribbean version of the British A-levels. And then we also have students who are on US high school diplomas and doing honors classes. Those are usually at boarding school kids. And then we have US high school students who are doing AP, which is what you call advanced placement. We also have students who do dual enrollment. So I would say at AIM, we have the whole gamut of students. So if there's so many different systems, And I've just named what AIM has exposure to, but colleges are looking at students from all over the world on all these different kinds of systems. So they evaluate you in the context of the environment you're coming out of. What is the maximum level to which you can challenge yourself in the context of your environment? See, sometimes we get these questions, is IB better than CAPE? Is AP better than IB? Wherever you are, colleges want you to just be the best, do the best on whatever curriculum you're on. And so whatever high school you go to, whatever courses they're offering, they want to just see that you do the most challenging ones and then also get great grades in them. And that whatever you want to major in, you have done the prerequisites. Now, if you're applying to Canada, amazing, because they're so straightforward in terms of telling you what you want. They're like, look, if you want to apply to the Faculty of Engineering, we want you to have a minimum average of 90%, for example. I'm not saying this is true, I'm just giving you an example. And so you can very quickly add up and say, well, am I going to have that 90%? If you're on IB, they'll say we want this predicted score. Only thing is that once your final grades come out, if you don't live up to what they told you to get, you're not getting it. Okay, so that's everything on the grade side. For different prerequisites, engineering, etc., you need to be doing specific subjects. So if you want to talk more about that academic preparation piece, you can always book a consultation with us. I just want to give you a broad overview of what the different moving parts are. And then related. So again, don't see any of these as independent of each other. Related are your SAT scores or ACT scores. Now, these are standardized tests. Dominique is going to go further into ACT. She can tell you a little bit about ACT. She tutors it. She can tell you a lot about the SAT. She tutors that. And as you know, we have quite a developed SAT program and a class that starts in July for students who are sitting the exam in October. By the way, we recommend that this is really the last chance and late for 2025 student, quite late, but still possible. And this is ideal start for a 2026 student. So SAT scored out of 1600, ACT out of 36. The closer you are to the upper end of that range, the better. Each school will give you what they admit, what a competitive score is for them. Because sometimes people say, well, what's a competitive score? It depends on the school you're applying to. I would say for big scholarships now, you need to be at a 1470 or higher. 2 years ago, I said you need to be at a 1450 or higher. Now it's like a 1470, 1480 or higher. But we've had students who test just under 1,000 on the SAT in diagnostic, and then they're able to raise their score to high 1300s, 1400s with diligent work, and then do it over time. So that is something that you can control. Your grades in school at this point are your grades in school, but the SAT can make your grades in school look better. You don't want your SAT score to make your grades look worse. And how can that be, or not make your grades robust, make your grades look doubtful? What I mean is this: if you have an A+ average and then you can't crack 1200 on the SAT, colleges are going to be like, what is that? It's related. So the SAT score should bolster the GPA, and they should make sense. If you can just score really well on an SAT, but then your GPA is very low, it's gonna ask questions. Colleges are gonna ask questions like, why are you not doing your work in school if you're obviously very able to, as evidenced by this high SAT score? So I'd say that GPA is very important, but these two parts of the system, they're like, subsystems of the academic piece. They come together, they are related, they're not independent of one another, and it's not either or. Because a lot of parents also think, well, I don't have to worry about exam results because all I have to worry about is SAT. Or I don't have to worry about GPA because all I'll do is just get a high SAT score. Two of them are actually related. So that's academics. And then the other part of the system is basically, so academics is like, what are you capable of achieving academically? And then the other piece is related to like, who are you? Like, who are you? And do we want you as part of our community? Are you going to add to this community? And they get to know you through these other pieces I'm going to break down. One, teacher recommendations. Sometimes I meet a student And this is why I have a whole reason in them and try to pull them back before it's too late. Because when I meet them and see how they, you know, sometimes they've been so accustomed to being at the top of the class in their school and being perceived as, you know, the brilliant one at their school. There's such a thing as intellectual arrogance. And they're not aware that this is how they come off to others. And parents don't tend to be aware either. Because, you know, I'm a parent, I get it. You know, you don't really see, sometimes it's just hard to see a child in an objective way, because you're used to them. And so you're not going to see them the way other people might. And intellectual arrogance is a very, very common reason why students you think should get into certain schools don't get in. Because you can't just imagine what the teacher said about them in the recommendation. No, you have to do something called FERPA, where you waive your right to even see the recommendation. So you might not even know what the teacher is saying about your child. But if you, there's a lot of times when, as I said, the academics are so strong and the scores are so strong and everything and the leadership, and you're thinking, what happened? Why? Sometimes it's because they don't think the personality or the character of the student is a fit for their community. So I remember I was at a Harvard training with a bunch of admissions officers from a bunch of different Ivy League schools, and they didn't admit one of the strongest math students in the whole United States because his teacher said that he was intellectually arrogant and that, you know, he was always rolling his eyes at other students who couldn't get the answer fast enough, and he was just kind of over them because he was so smart. And that is definitely not what colleges want. And so I see this as a problem for sure. And it will definitely impact the success of an application, how you are talked about in rooms when you're not in those rooms. And that's also what the definition of a brand is. There have been many articles lately talking about how college admission applications are about branding and how we're like forcing these kids to build brands. But if you look at the definition of the word brand, they're already building a brand. College admissions isn't forcing them to build a brand, they're building a brand. And colleges are making branding decisions because colleges are the biggest brands. In my email, no offense to I don't know how I end up with all these UMiami folks, you know. No offense, UMiami, no offense, Dominique and Brianna, who are UMiami grads, but I am going to talk about it. That whoever is running the marketing for UMiami needs an award, and they must be awarded now. Because over the past maybe 5-6 years, I mean, when I first started college advising, UMiami was not a competitive or desired school particularly. No, it's like the school every student wants to go to. The brand is extremely strong. A TikTok star went viral who went to UMiami, and she totally glamorized it. They're building all of this incredible housing. It's like a country club. Kids can just see themselves. They're living their best life. These kids are like, my quality of life is important. We love the weather, etc., etc. And UMiami is very strategic in terms of how they entice students to really see themselves at UM. And as a result, the number of applications to UM has skyrocketed. And of course, the number of students that they take remains the same. And so they are now one of the most competitive schools to get into, and their school fee is almost $100,000 US a year. So they are really doing the thing, but they are admitting, colleges are admitting students on branding. You know, is this going to be good for the brand? Are they going to serve the brand while in the school? Are they going to serve the brand as graduates of the school? Are they going to fly this flag high? And so what teachers say about students as people in the classroom and outside of the classroom is very important, very important. The other way that colleges get to know a student's personality and fit for them and desirability is through their college essay, which Brianna and Chelsea can speak to a little bit, and also through interviews. So they have their alum or their own office do college interviews with students, and this is where they get to know their personality and you know, have a conversation and determine, okay, is this student a fit? So this is why when Peter Gay said, one of the best pieces of advice is to get started early. For AIM, we've taken that to another level. Like I just left some student, the youngest student there was 13, happened to also be my daughter because I understand what it means to start early. But, you know, I had 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds because preparation and getting to know yourself and exploring your interests and seeing what fits and doesn't fit, it just makes you a more interesting person. You have more to say. You know what I mean? If you haven't done that kind of exploration, you sometimes don't really know, right? So I think it's so important for summers, how you use your summer. That's important. Colleges look at that as well to see, like, what do you really have to offer? What experiences do you have under your belt? And so that is the other piece. So it's academics and then the teacher recommendations, the essays, and the interviews that are so important. The other really key piece is now the hook, the extracurricular hook. What is that? As I said, if you're applying to Canada, UK, right, and the Caribbean, this is an academic conversation. So do you have the scores? Do you have the grades? If now you're applying to scholarships at those places, that's where they want to know about things like extracurricular. For the US, they want to know about extracurricular, especially giving out scholarships. So it's like, who are you as evidence through extracurriculars? What have you done? What impact have you had already? Which then allows them to predict what kind of impact you might have on their campus. So they're looking for, you know, what have you done to a high level? How have you impacted your community? How have you pursued an interest, taken it to another level? And so, you know, that's why it's so important for students to start very early, getting to know themselves and exploring their interests and to build a hook. You literally build it over time. So those are the main components of the system. Now, financial aid. Financial aid is now related to every single thing I have discussed a while ago. It will determine the success or failure of the whole enterprise. And I say that because, especially for international students, you could have done everything right. You could have done the grades, the SAT scores, you could have had a hook, you could have a great essay, you could have all these things. And depending on what school you're applying to, if you have, depending on how much financial need you have, it can just make it that much harder. In other words, somebody with your identical profile who is not applying for aid might be vying for the same spot you are vying for, and the school will rather take the person who is not applying for aid. So financial aid and your level that you're willing or able to pay at affects all the other pieces of the system, especially if you are not a citizen of the country that you are applying to. And in the US, this is called need-aware admissions. And most schools are need-aware. So someone asked, what are the best schools for financial aid? For international students, there are only a handful of need-blind schools, meaning they don't care if you can afford it or not. When you're applying, they look at your application equally with everything else. Those are Princeton, Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, MIT, although they have an international student quota, and did I say Dartmouth? And Amherst College. So those are all need-blind schools. All other schools are need-aware. And that means that, you know, a school could be advertising a 25% admit rate on their website, but if you're international and need aid, the admit rate is 2%. And that's very common. So this is where every single thing that I just described, you have to try and take it to that next level. If you see that most kids being admitted to that school have a 1300 SAT, you want to try to have a 1500 SAT because you know you're dealing with a 2% admit rate as opposed to a 25 or a 30% admit rate. So those are the different moving parts. And within each part, timing really counts. And I think this is where, again, Peter Gay said it, you start early. That's the best advice as a parent. This is why, you know, my stepdaughter Ali started college prep in 4th form. My daughter Lauren has started college prep starting this summer, and she's going into 3rd form. And we don't call it college prep. This is just a matter of me encouraging her and directing her in talking about her interests, figuring out her interests, trying different things, and developing skills for success. Because AIM right now is in a transition. Especially with the launch of our career map program and our early programs for class of 2027, 2028, 2029, because we're very much about preparing students for success in life and not just success in getting into X or Y college. We want you to find who you are and be successful as a person, because no matter what career you end up in, no matter what school you end up, you have the ability to direct yourself to success. And I think that that's more important really than anything. And that as parents is what we want, that we can just close our eyes and know that you will be okay because you have the skills. I've had students go to the University of South Florida and maximize their experience and have better outcomes than students that got in the big, fill in the blank, whatever, even Ivy League schools that kind of fail to rise to the occasion. So are we teaching them how to rise to the occasion at the same time that they're building all these really great profiles for college? Because colleges want to see students who are their best selves. And you can really start to help a teenager become their best selves very early. So that is sort of where we are. But I want to just reiterate that the main components of the admission system are your academics, which include your grades and test scores, and then your teacher recommendations, extracurricular activities like hook, the essays, and the interviews, which tell a college who you are, and then of course whether or not you are applying for financial aid and just how much of that you're doing. As I said, timing really counts, so the earlier the better, especially with the SAT. There are all kinds of hidden parts to this little system that you will never know of a college's website. Like they say, they're test optional, but if you send them the score, they look at it and it can help the application. But if you understand as a parent how highly competitive the process is, how hard it is to get certain levels of financial aid, then to me, the SAT and getting a high score on the SAT is a no-brainer if you want to maximize your chances of getting in and getting scholarships. As UMiami described on a public webinar that we had, they're like, it's garnish. It's like you have 2 meals and 2 of them look very delicious, and one has great garnish on it. Wouldn't you want the one with the great garnish versus the one that just looks delicious? Why not delicious and garnish? And these are limited amount of spots, limited amount of money. So for me, in my house, I'm like, we are going to get the garnish. So we invest accordingly. My stepdaughter moved her SAT score by about 450 points by the time she was finished doing the class and then private tutoring and all of that work, and then didn't even end up wanting to go to the United States after all. But it was important for us to give her the best option so that she could choose. As a parent, the whole point of this is to maximize choice for your child. No. You don't maximize the choice for your child. They maximize the choices for themselves, but you facilitate, right? And you help to guide them. And I really want each parent to leave this session feeling like they are a more qualified advisor educationally for their child, because it really is a partnership in helping your child to be successful. So I would love at this point for Brianna and Chelsea to sort of speak a little bit about how does the essay, how can the essay really help a college to understand who the student is, and do essays need to be unique? I think a lot of parents and students feel intimidated about, the essay and how it's, the role that it plays in the process, how it's going to help such an important part of the system. And then since I just, can we talk about essays without talking about the dangers of ChatGPT and how the essays are cancelled for that? So that's also, I will just mention that. I'm sure Chelsea and Brianna don't have to elaborate, but go ahead, Chelsea.
Good night, everyone. So long story short, essays are important. They're one of the components that Nicole talked about for good reason. This is pretty much, although you have essays and the interviews, most students will not go on to interview with a college. So this is pretty much the only opportunity you have to actually engage with the college in a meaningful way. It's the only opportunity they get to have an insight into your personality, into what you value, into your maturity, into probably your emotional intelligence. Because especially for US schools, beyond your, you know, IQ, they care about your EQ, which is your emotional intelligence, and how you relate to people, what you value, etc. So this is just a huge component of the essay. I mean, when students ask about how unique does the essay have to be, I mean, I think we're all unique. We're all unique humans, and so that's what they expect to shine through the essay. But they're not looking, I think we sometimes confuse unique with extraordinary or almost impossible situations. So not everyone is gonna have a story where, you know, they beat cancer 5 times and started, you know, a company by the time they were 12, or knows how to fly a plane at 17. That's not everybody's story. Those are extraordinary circumstances, which if that's your reality, cool, awesome, write about it if it's important to you. But if it's not, you know, what we consider mundane things like our relationships with our moms or our dads, those are the kind of things they're looking for, because something as simple as a Tuesday night dinner with your family every week for the last 10 years can evolve you as a person, and it can make your college application wholesome, because there are some lessons, some conversations had, some reflection on the growth you've had as a person that can shine through in those essays. So I think for me, the essay is less about topics, right? And trying to be super interesting as it is about capturing the attention of the audience by being authentic and showing them that at this point in your life, you've reflected on all the experiences you've had, and you have a good sense of the direction you want to go into, and you have a good sense of your values. So that's my 2 cents. I'm going to let Brianna chime in now.
I definitely 100% agree and echo everything that you've said. In talking about the dangers of ChatGPT and AI, what I will say is that the software just doesn't give that authentic feeling that Chelsea is talking about. It gives a very generic, well-written essay. And so we, as well as colleges have invested in software that can detect when you've used AI. But just right off the bat, if you're exposed to essays and you're constantly reading and writing them, we know immediately. We're like, okay, no, this is not authentically you, or it's written in a way that just sounds way too robotic, perfect, pristine. And these schools are looking for, as Chelsea said, that reflection. This is not an academic paper. You know, they're not going to penalize you because the full stop is not in the right place. They're more so interested in just seeing what your plans are and the self-reflection that you've done to get to that point. And I think the essay writing process is also a period in time where students really get to know themselves. And I love that part as well, because it asks you for students applying to US schools specifically, those deeper questions of, well, why? You say you want this, why? Why do you want it? Why do you want to come here? Why is this your next step naturally? And it kind of forces students to reflect on things. As Chelsea said, sometimes it's not the heroic things that make the best essays. I had a student last year who wrote, she's a swimmer, and she wrote about her hair and having curly hair as a student of color who has to go into a pool every single day. And so how, like, just what the lessons that has taught her in terms of discipline and confidence as a young woman at the same time. So that was a great essay. I had a student who talked about wrestling and being inspired and kind of translated that to his life. So there are different topics that really come from a place of vulnerability sometimes that wouldn't be we have to dig a little bit deeper to find them sometimes, but once you are able to write and kind of communicate those things, you get a deeper lesson across. And really that's what they're looking for, as Chelsea said, that EQ, that emotional intelligence, that maturity, not that I'm doing this because my mother wants me to do this. But I'm doing this because I really want to do this, and let me tell you why it is that I want to do this. So yeah,
Thank you for that. I have a question for both of you based on what you just said. If we're looking at college admissions as a system, and there are all these moving different parts, and of course, the admissions officer is gonna, they're gonna know your grades. They're gonna have your teacher recommendations, telling them a story. They're gonna have your list of activities over there, telling them a story. Which is why it's never a good essay to just list the activities. They already see that. So just word to the wise. But so all the other parts are telling them stories. How do you both approach, or how do each of you approach helping a student to figure out what to focus on for that main 500-word essay? What is the process for working with a student to help to figure out what might be interesting? I know students sometimes don't even realize what's interesting. There are sometimes things that are super interesting. You're like, tell the story, where they're just like, they don't even mention it. The parents have to be the one to tell us. God bless the parents. Because they just don't even see things, they can't see themselves the way we might see them, or the way we know colleges might see. So how do you help them to figure out, and how do you decide what is the most powerful topic or advantageous strategic topic to choose and to elaborate on in this essay in the context of everything else the college can see?
I guess I'll go first. So for me, it's usually a conversation. I mean, at AIM, we have a whole long list of tools that we use. But even with that long list of tools that we use, we're very keen on getting to know who a student is and giving them the right tool to pull the right information out of them to get that vulnerability. So for me, especially with students who I work on essays with over time, because they're not rushing, they've joined the process, with enough time to really get this essay perfect. Sometimes we change the topics 3 times because the more comfortable they get with me, and they're like, all right, mom and dad aren't in this session, I can be real about how I feel about something. We'll start to get those conversations out. So questions I like to ask are like, do you have siblings? And I always start that off with, I'm an only child, so I'm kind of weird. Do you have siblings? Because being an only child is an experience, and that makes you, very different. And not being an only child and having siblings gives you a completely different experience. Do you live with your siblings? How much older are they? Are you the oldest one? What has that been like? Who are your friends? What do you like to do? I'll ask random questions like, what's the, if you could do something every day for the rest of your life, what would that be? If money wasn't an issue, what would you get up and do? What are you really passionate about? And so those are the kind of questions I ask students to kind of get them to start to think about what fuels them. Because I feel like we're in a system where because of the social media exposure, and we're seeing people achieve all of these things very rapidly. A lot of students are very money driven, so they want to do a degree in an area that they think is going to make them a lot of money. So I try to get like, all right, let's take money off the table. Let's take parental pressure off the table. What are you actually passionate about? And that usually pulls out some interesting niche stories about their life, about the moment they knew that they really love this thing and why they want to pursue it.
So very similar, using the tools the resources that we have here in AIM. So we have our values exercise, we have our elevator pitch, we have the Museum of Me, and these are just different brainstorming activities that we'll use to get the student talking and to start to get to know the student. But as Chelsea said, it's really a lot about conversation. And a lot of things come out in these conversations, and they're very helpful to guide our students towards writing the perfect essay, but also sometimes even really thinking about, as Chelsea said, why they're doing what they're doing. I had a student who just recently told me that he actually wants to be a sound engineer, like doing music production, as opposed to what he put down on his application. And when I asked, well, why is this on your application? He's like, well, I think this is going to make me money in the future. And I was like, okay, but do you know a producer who makes more money than an engineer right now? And we thought about 2 people, and he was like, yes, I do. So I was like, so, it's really getting them to understand that once you are successful in and pursuing a passion, you know, you will be financially satisfied through trying to push the boundaries within your career, right? You'll get there, but you need to be happy and fulfilled at the same time. So the essays really come from a place of, as Chelsea said, conversation, brainstorming exercise. And then I'll pinpoint things that are like unique about the student, because we also, you know, we're trained essay coaches. We know what topics are common. And when a student comes to me and says, I want to write about football, I go, no, you don't. You don't want to write about football. There has to be something else about you that, or something within football, something that tells a compelling story. What we don't want is your average conversation of, I trained, especially if a student doesn't have like, you know, football accolades per se. There has
Oh
to be
gosh, Brianna, not when they scored the winning goal. Oh God.
there
Not when they scored.
there has to be a deeper conversation of like, okay, well, what did you learn? Why is this, why, other than, you know, you ended up scoring the winning goal at the end of the game, what is the deeper meaning here of what this has done for you or taught you or stuff like that? So I think just relying on our training and conversation with the students is really the systems that we use here at AIM.
Yeah. Brianna, that reminded me of something very quickly. It's just like I had a student who she plays golf and she wanted to know if she should write about playing golf. I was like, okay, what's so interesting about playing golf? And for her, it wasn't even actually about the sport. It was about the community she's built over the last 7 years and how she got, you know, this really sad diagnosis and how 3 girls on her team were there with her at doctor's visits. You know, they were rallying behind her. And so like, that's the golf story you write about. Or if you have, you know, if it's football, that's the kind of football story you want to write about, not the winning goal like Nicole said. But I also wanted to touch on what are parents' roles in this essay process. And this is one of those processes where outside of kind of ensuring that the child is writing the essay, you kind of have to be hands off and allow them to find their authentic voice. Your eyes and your, you know, opinions and stuff should really be saved for the very end when it's a cleaned up essay and the essay coaches have worked with the students on this. And I say that because before AI and ChatGPT, parents were writing essays. And we can also tell when your parent writes your essay because English evolves. The way students write is very different than how parents write. And so don't do that, parents. You're really just sabotaging the efforts. It usually comes from a place of love and wanting the best for your child, but it really does a lot more harm than it does good. So this is one of those times where you have to allow your child to kind of take control of this, find their, you know, their narrative voice and get their story out, in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
Which I think is a great humble opinion. Peter Gay, you had something?
Yes, I just really want to second what Chelsea and Brianna are saying. In the essay writing process, it is a hands-off. The parents really go on mute. You ensure the child is doing the writing, but it's really about them and the tutor. And I also wanted to, I didn't think of this, but really and truly the essay writing process, just as Chelsea and Brianna have said, the students learn so much about themselves during this process. It really is, that was amazing for me to watch. So yeah, just wanted to put that in.
Thank you. And they also become better writers. I have all these college kids, they're in college writing back like, oh my God, thank you, my essay coach helped me so much. You know, I'm writing these papers and it's everything that they taught me. And so that's been also a pretty amazing thing to watch. So thank you, essay experts and 3-time AIM mom for that. Dominique, what is the role of the SAT and how are you going to help them get the highest score? What's the strategy here? How early should they start? What is a super score? How do you get it? Just break it down. Break it down.
I've been taking notes when you were listing all the questions, but I think I have it. So hello everyone, my name is Dominique. I teach math here at AIM and I absolutely love it. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, so I should think there's not anything I haven't seen so far, but you know, kids always surprise me and I'm always down for the surprises. So the SAT is a number. And the good thing about a number is it's very comparable. So it's something that I can take from one student to another student to another student and compare it. So it's called a standardized test, which means that, let's say you took the SAT last year, and you're applying this year, or you took the SAT just now and you're applying this year, then all of these test scores can be compared to each other. The SAT, the ACT, any other kind of standardized test, that's how they work. So the SAT was marked out of 1600, the ACT is marked out of 36. For the SAT, you have two components. You have a math section and a verbal section, both marked out of 800, and then we add those scores together. For the ACT, you have a math section, a reading section, a writing section, and a science section. Now, each of those pieces are graded out of 36, and then the score is averaged and then rounded up or down as needs be to give you a grade out of 36. So would I recommend one or the other? It completely depends on you. For the majority of people that typically don't have a very strong math background, or in general, pretty much, I would recommend the SAT now. It's completely digital. It's available in multiple test centers around the US, Jamaica, internationally. And you can use a calculator for everything now, which is super exciting for everybody. And so I kind of do recommend the SAT at this moment because the timeline is a little bit more flexible as it has to do with the dates that we have available for the SAT in terms of the amount of sittings that are available nowadays, and also the amount of questions in the amount of time that you have to answer. It's a little bit more flexible. For the SAT, you have a total of 44 questions in an hour and a half. And for the ACT, you have 60 questions in 60 minutes. So you can see the very clear difference especially for math in the question structure and how it's set up. So those are your exams. When you put those together, we are bringing to your college that you're applying to a score. And like I said, this is what they're going to use to compare you to someone else. And also, this score is something that they can use to say, okay, I'm going to create a threshold for my scholarship. The people who are going to get this scholarship, they need to have an SAT score of this or above. And the reason they can do that is because it's quantitative, right? It's something that they can see, something that's tangible, versus how many scores, football goals did this person score? Like that is a very, very different situation that does build and add to an application, but it's definitely not quantitative. So that's why you need a really good score, because it's something that you kind of put like on the top of your resume, and then you add all of these other pieces to yourself that makes you this whole and well-rounded applicant. So that's why you need a really good SAT score. Now, how do you get a really good SAT score or a really good standardized testing score in general? It takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of preparation. What I would recommend is for the majority of students, the best time to start is just after Algebra 2 or CSEC math, if you're in the Caribbean system. The reason I would recommend that is because it's just after you've gotten the majority of the knowledge base for the exam. And also English is just about the same, no matter where you are, in terms of what you'll be learning. So the reason I recommend it is you've gotten the majority of the knowledge base out already. So when you're coming to prepare for the SAT itself, the things that you're preparing for is necessary for the actual exam. So learning the question structure that the SAT teaches, the SAT wants you to understand, getting used to the way that they ask questions and their time limits and how to use the websites and all those things is what you should be focusing on, and not necessarily the content at that point. It's okay if you're still focusing on content. Sometimes that's okay. But we want to make sure that you guys are preparing in school and then coming to the SAT preparation with a good amount of background knowledge, so it makes your task a little bit easier for you. So next thing that you want to do after you've prepared and done all that and you take the SAT, you're going to want to take it more than once. Reason being is the SAT, most standardized testing, has what's called a superscore. Now, what a superscore is, let's say you did really, really well on the English section, maybe because it's the thing that you do first, and you got really tired towards the end and you just didn't really get a very good math score on the first sitting. What you can do is on that second sitting is you take it again, and maybe this time around you aim for a really good math score. And what you can do is you can take your really good English score from the test from sitting 1 and a really good math score from sitting 2, put them together and create this beautiful super score. And that score can be the thing that really launches you into that scholarship zone that you can get these really good SAT scores, really good scholarships from. Let's see if I'm missing any questions. Nicole, was there anything else that I think I'm missing? I think I'm definitely missing something.
How you super score, how you do the class and then tutoring?
There we go. So the class, how does the class work? So at AIM, I'm very proud of our class. I'm very proud of our class because I was a student of our class. And because I was a student of our class, I decided to join our team here. And every single one of our tutors that are here today is someone that either I helped to hire or I hired. And I can tell you that they're all exceptionally passionate about doing this work, about every single one of our students, past, future, present. And I think as passionate as I am, I try to find the same amount of people with the same amount of passion or more for our students. So the class works like this. So we have 9 math classes and 9 verbal classes. They're 3 hours long and they're all online. And what we do is that we start you off with a diagnostic test and also a college kickoff call so that you're also discussing all the things that you need to know to actually put in that application. So then you come to us after that diagnostic test. Everyone is so sad after they got that not so very pretty score. And then we make a really good goal. We make 2 goals in that first class. We talk about where you want to be at our first parent progress meeting, where we check in with the parents, we check in with the students. We say, these are your goals. This is where you are right now. And this is where you want to be at the end of the day. So that's your first goal. You tell me where you want to be in that first meeting. Then we make a second goal, and that's for the end of the cycle, like in your actual sitting of the exam. That's where your second goal is going to come up. And we have another meeting after that first one where we say, your exam is about 2 weeks away. What can we do now at this point to make sure that you're getting the best possible score movement towards the very end? And so the reason I love our group class is we have a very individualized focus in the group class. And I say that because we include all of these details, the one-on-one parent progress meeting, the coaching calls, being able to ask us questions before class, after class, during class, in the WhatsApp group chat, having a teaching assistant in class with you and someone that you can ask questions at all hours. We bring that feel of that individualized, no child left behind mantra so that we can go ahead.
They're young, that's why you can ask them questions at any time of the night.
We are very young. And I think that's why Nicole likes us being young. Nicole likes a young spirit, so that Nicole can remain youthful, right, Nicole?
Yes, praise the Lord.
No, I agree with you. I think the younger or tutors are sometimes the better passion you can get from them. Especially when it comes to people that are now in college that just went through this process. They still have that fire still in them to help other people go through that same process. Also, and I think that's why. Go ahead, Nicole.
Connectivity. So Dominique just graduated from UMiami and is now in a PhD program at Rice University. A bunch of our students are still, in university. They're AIM certified, but they're still in university. They give students a real aspiration. And so there's a level of connection and understanding between them, and they can build connection. And if you know how students these days work, but the way researchers tell us that they've always learned is by connection. If they don't connect, they can't just say, well, I am focused on my goals and I am just going to work hard and get the score. No, they have to connect with the person or else it is just not happening, okay? It's simply not happening. What you saying, Peter, Gabe? Go ahead.
Amen to that, ×3. Amen. The students must connect. Otherwise, it is a grand waste of money and a grand waste of time. And that is the beauty in AIM, because again, the 3 different personalities of my children, every one of them connected personally with the tutors. And that made all the difference.
Yeah, that's how you get the work out of them for sure. So thank you so much for that, Dominique. Thank you. Mr. Christopher Ebanks, question from Christopher Ebanks. Please go ahead.
This is Christopher Ebanks' mom.
Hello.
I'm getting this boy to come in at the class and come listen, and I want to squeeze him. So he's taking his leisure time to come in. But my daughter, Bianca Ebanks, was a part of the AIM program a few years ago. She would have finished. Where did she go? She went to Rhode Island, Johnson and Wales, and then she just finished her master's program at Florida Tech. So I know it's really a good program. So my concern is how I get my son into it, because right now my concern is he just finished CSEC. So having done CSEC now, I would have wanted him to start the SAT, but then I know that that August class would just not have worked for him, and it would have been the October one I'm looking at. The challenge it's a whole heap, but I'm glad I'm on this call. I'm in this session, so it's giving me a little bit more insight into it. But for me, I would love for him to be in it, so only can give him the talk and not me give him the talk and forcing him into this thing and to make him understand how critical this program is. So that's really me. So I wanted to tell him I can have that session, so I can push the boy in at the class and I step out. Amen.
That's a good point.
Segue, because
Beautiful segues. Thank you for keeping us on task.
Jenny talking about parenting in the process, because it has been so much fun to have Janine and Asia, and I follow Janine on Instagram. Every time Janine posts something about parenting, I'm like, amen, because guess what happened now? Christopher Ebanks' mom, what's your name, please? Because we are not merely the moms of these children. What's your name?
Sorry about that. No, I'm Lisa.
Lisa.
Everybody
okay.
calls, yeah. But I'm stressed. I'm stressed over here. And I just think he's just not as stressed as me, because in my head I'm going, Lord Jesus, the challenge I went through with big sister, because she got a scholarship. She didn't want to go into Howard. So she got into Penn State. We had to pull her from Penn State because the scholarship she got in at Penn State, when she physically went, and that was something that I remember her doc mentioning, that whatever, and I think you also mentioned it, Nicole, that sometimes what you see advertised or they have on their website is not the reality when you get there. Because when she got into Penn State, we had to pull her out to Penn State because the school fee was just ridiculous. And then they changed. The situation that happened for her is that the school fee, because she was international, it was just ridiculous. So we sent her to Rhode Island, Johnson and Wales, and I mean, we could manage that fee. Yes, she got a scholarship, but again, too, is what you can afford.
Right.
So
absolutely.
So I want this boy get into this. Him tell me he's on the call still. Him just come out and go, Mom, I'm in it. I said, all right, cool, no problem. But him not understand how serious me know this thing is, and the whole scholarship thing and everything. So I want him to get to understand what is happening and what we can do. So let me shut up now.
No, Lisa, thank you. Let me tell you something. I'm tuning. I'm turning 40 this year. First of all, second of all, I'm now AIM mom. My stepdaughter's class of 2024 in AIM. My daughter is class of 2029, and my son is right behind her. So I really empathize and relate to parents on so many different levels. And, you know, for 15 years, I've been doing this, and parents have always come and say, I can tell them what you're going to tell them, but they're not going to listen to it coming from me. So that's why I'm here. And I'll be like, what? You know, because of course, you know, I'm like, my kid's going to listen to me. Why do I pay this money? There's something I could tell my child myself, you know? And boy, nothing will humble you like some parenting experience. You just shut up your mouth now. You're like, I understand. And so I appreciate that completely. Ali's counselor was Brianna, who spoke earlier, for a reason. And I tried to interfere with my niece, now who's class of 2026, and what we call our first baby in the family, where we were all her moms, we felt like. And I tried to say something to her about college, and she just totally like got upset with me. And she said, Auntie, why are you saying that? It's because you did that. And by the time she was done, I was like, okay, fine. And then behind the scenes, I go whisper to our counselor, make sure you tell her X, Y, and Z. But when the counselor tell her no, is a totally different reception versus when me, Auntie Nicole, tell her. And I was just floored by that. And I'm like, wow. Because, you know, there is so much in the space. And they think I mean, I would say I know a lot about college advising, and so would most people, right? But she's not taking it from me. She have to hear it from somebody else, because we're not neutral. And, you know, there's a lot in the space. So I get completely why it is totally useful, worth it, to have an outside person that is regarded as an expert that can get through to your child in a way that, you know, you are just not going to be able to. And that's just the way it is. So thank you for sharing that. I think that the penny has to drop for them. I think it is really important at the end of the day. Ali did the SAT, what, how many times? 3 times? 4 times? 3 or 4 times over the course.
Or if you count the test sitting.
The practice digital, when the digital just came out, we're like, don't worry. I was like, Ali, I just want you to do it to come back to give me information, because I want to know how this thing really set. So 3 credible times where she was really trying to do. And let me tell you something. This is why when we start early with students, one of the first things that we're having them do is called the Vision Unlock. Janine, you know the Vision Unlock, because that's what I do with my Goal Accelerator, women in the Goal Accelerator Club, and we unlock vision to deepen our experience of life and make it epic, right? To make sure that we're aligning our action, goal, career with the impact we want to have in the world and with who we are, so we can be happy. I do a similar I'm doing similar exercises, and we're doing similar exercises with the students from early, because we need them to have an intrinsic motivation. And then we also need them to understand the reality of life and what it's going to take. Did Ali want to do the SAT 3 times? No, but she didn't want to go to a school that cost almost $100,000 at first. At first, she really wants to go to this school. And I said, well, the only way that is going to happen, my friend, is if you have this SAT score. So you can go into the SAT over if you want, but understand that with you choosing that, you're also choosing something else. What do your choices mean, and what are the implications of those? And I had that conversation with her, not as a college advisor, but as a parent, because there are also important parent conversations that need to happen. And there are important counselor to student conversations that need to happen. So while, you know, of course, it is important for the counselor and him, and we can definitely talk to him, and we can have the initial consult, and he can, you know, he can be in our program. We have 2 different levels of the program, depending on what your budget is. You could do a la carte, you could do one-off things. There are so many things you could do for us to have that conversation. That is not the problem. But you want to make sure too, that if he does not have a clear sense of what his goals are for himself, that is something we work on as well. Because sometimes it is not, the student cannot connect to this goal of do this SAT this number of times, or write this essay this well, or invest yourself in this process, because they haven't connected to what they actually really want for themselves. And as I said, I hold a reasoning with a young man today, and by the time I end up digging, peeling the layers back, he don't even want to go away. actually, he wants to go to UA. Actually, and factually. I was like, oh. You know what I'm trying to say? Because at the end of the day, that is so important. So, Lisa, we would be very happy to have that conversation. As I said, great segue into Janine, who is going to share a little bit about her experience of parenting through this process. I would say it has certainly been a fabulous partnership so far. Shamoy has a quick question here. As a low-income international student, I would recommend you apply to the AIM Higher Scholarship, okay? And that is a link we're gonna drop in the chat. Please, if you are a low-income student, I have a personal mission. The Lord spoke to me, and Nikki will listen, because the year not going down. And Nikki said, God, you see what I did what you said. I did what you said. So we are expanding that program. We are looking to have 20 students in doing SAT free this year in the July, not this year, sorry, for this July class. I want 20 students that we are going to sponsor to the SAT class. So that is a value of like 20 something thousand, how much? 20. I didn't do the math. You do the math.
Enough money, Nicole, enough money.
How many? That doesn't sound like a PhD Rice math answer.
Nicole, at 8 o'clock, enough money.
So that we are looking to do that. We're gonna drop the link. If Sharika is still here, she can drop the link in the chat. We have the AIM Higher Scholarship, and we want to underwrite that cost for you. We have students that we're paying the exam fees for. So depending on your level of financial need, we will pay for the SAT exam with College Board for you. And we want to help you open up this path. So definitely, if you're low income, please let's see your application. We want to help you access this. But would I recommend applying only to need blind 100 need med schools? Yes, would. I definitely, I'm glad that the meeting is helpful, because that is what we want. I would certainly, if you're depending on where your income is and what your profile is. So you see, like, everything is related and there is nuance to this. So I would certainly recommend applying to need blind schools, right? Because if you have high need, that's going to be something that will work against you in the process for most schools. But if the application is robust enough, and we also do some college advising scholarships, I have to work out how many we can actually manage, and it depends on how many volunteer counselors and mentors we can have, but we can also help you with the application piece of it. There are certain schools that love to see, they might not be need blind, but they do like to support scholarship students that are working with a community-based organization like the AIM Higher Foundation. And so that can help your application. So generally, I would say, of course, apply to all need blind schools, but it also depends on your profile, because the need blind schools are Harvard, Yale, Princeton, etc. So the profile needs to be able to stand up the test to those schools, or else you could have need little more, you could have low income little more, they don't care. If that application don't stand up in their pool, it's not gonna, you're wasting your time, essentially. And so you might want to find some less competitive schools where maybe the chances are higher. You might also want to look regionally. Like Ali is a US citizen and decided that she actually wanted to go to Barbados to do law, because she wanted to go directly into law school, and she wanted to change her environment, and she really loves Barbados. And she was afraid of going to the UK because it's so far, and she's kind of not ready to make that big of a move at this point. So she'll do her master's in the UK. So I want to also say, see your education as a longer term game. I don't want students to just think that if they don't get to go to the US for undergrad, it's all over and they're failed or something. You have not. You know, you can literally stay locally, regionally, and there are scholarships available for masters. You can do study abroad. Like the third year of Ali's program, she's gonna do at the University of Toronto. So she's gonna be able to spend 2 years in Barbados, 1 year in Toronto, and then a year in London. So by the time she's done 4 years, she would have been Barbados, Toronto, UK, and have a master's degree in the same length of time a student would have stayed in the US only. So she's very excited about the plan, and so are we. And it looks different from what a lot of other plans look like, but we can help you craft a plan that is suited to your needs and interests, profile, financial situation, everything. And we can get creative with it. So the June class has already started and is far advanced, and I don't want to get in trouble with people like Dominique by saying that you can go in there and then next thing you know, them teach too much already and then they get mad at me. And I really—
Celia is already a student.
Oh, okay, fab, great, good. Janine, Chelsea wanted to jump in, and then Janine jump in and talk to us about the journey of parenting.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a quick thing about not thinking that going to school abroad is the be all end all. You have to
Anyway,
your
I would like to
end.
say that Chelsea is a double graduate of the Johns Hopkins University,
Yeah.
where they're undergraduate and masters.
Right. And I actually work in the office of the Chief Medical Officer of Jamaica. So in headquarters of the Ministry of Health, and I get to look over applications for, you know, medical doctors and stuff when they're choosing their residency programs. And Jamaica trains in like 20 different specialties, etc., etc. I know there must be somebody on this call who wants to pursue medicine. The truth is, getting into medical school as an international student in the US is close to impossible. It very rarely happens. And so I've told people, I've seen people go away for undergrad and then come back and do US program. They have to do all 5 years over. So instead of doing 5 years and being done and getting trained in, you can get trained in plastic surgery in Jamaica, neurosurgery, orthopedics, etc., etc. The government will sponsor you to do fellowships abroad. Right now, there's a $2.5 billion Barry Wink scholarship that they're giving out to students who want to study public health. My point is this: it's not the be all end all, as Nicole said. You have to figure out what are the options locally and regionally that make the most sense. And so you have to have a long game approach. And that's all I wanted to say is don't just be so fixated on this one thing if you don't have all the information you need to make the best possible choice for you to get to your end goal. And then I'll hand it over to Nicole or Janine.
Good evening, everyone. If anyone had told me that parenting didn't come with a manual and that it would be a difficult journey, I may have reconsidered this, but thank God for my blessings. So I'm gonna start from the beginning. My daughter is from the graduating, well, she'll be from the graduating class of 2025. And the beginning for me is that I am a proud UE graduate, but those honors came with a hefty cost because my home country did not pay any part of my tuition, no part of my economic costs. I footed that bill all on my own. And so by the time I graduated, I was beginning my adult life with a large student loan that I had to take the next couple of years to repay. And so as a parent, when I became a parent, one of my core values was that I knew that tertiary education is very important for my kids. And as a parent, I wanted to do everything in my power to make sure that they had the best opportunities that they would need to have to pursue whatever they want to pursue, but also without putting them in debt. And that was just something that was near and dear to my heart. And so when I had my first daughter, and at the age of 3, she started saying, oh, I want to be a doctor. I was like, I didn't pay it any mind. I'm like, she's 3 years old. She'll grow out of that, because by the time I was 15, I had like 100 different professions that I wanted to do. But as time went on, she kept to that, and I started doing my research, and I was like, Lord Jesus, how are we going to make this happen? Without going back on what is of value to me, right? And so as the time went on and I started doing my research, and it came nearer to the point where I know we would have to start looking at schools, etc., I started becoming very overwhelmed, very anxious. I was like, first of all, I don't have the time that is needed to dedicate to making sure that I don't mess up this process. And I know messing it up was not an option for me. Like, I had to get it right. This is not one of those things that I could mess up and fix it later. And so I started worrying about how will I go about doing this? What pathway would I take? And then I came across AIM, and I was like, okay, maybe this is the answer to my prayers. And it definitely has been. So the first thing that we did is we booked a consultation with AIM, and our consultation was with Brianna. And from that very first call, that sealed the deal for me. In fact, I think I was sending messages to AIM for probably like a couple months before I even got on the call with Brianna, because at one point I think it was closed or something. And got on the call with Brianna. She was able to like ask the right questions, get the right information out of us, and clearly outline to us what we needed to look for. She told us like things like, you know, your summers are important and what you do in the summer would play a part in your application. And from the time I put down the phone, I went and I rearranged our summer plans, made sure that I was starting to build Asia's profile. And then I realized, the realization hit me that this process is actually going to be a first step to her meeting the real world. And so I knew that I could not influence heavily the process. I had to let her be exposed to this process. And the way that Brianna had explained that they're set up, I was like, this is going to be ideal. Because one, I don't have the time to do it all. And two, she needed to be involved. And this is what they said to me on the call. And so when we enrolled in the CAP program, the first meeting, we sat down and they asked all the right questions. And I wasn't surprised because I'm part of the Goal Accelerator. So I know that a lot of, you know, what we do is based on our values, but to be able to see that being translated over to my 16-year-old child, I was very happy, because the things that I am learning at 40, that is now changing my life, she's literally learning at 16. So I know that she is already building a foundation that is going to just transform her and really set her on a path to success. And it's true, these kids sometimes, they don't want to hear it from us. They hear us too much, right? And I remember there was an incident at the end of the last term where she had some challenges. And I was talking to her all the way coming home in the car. And I looked at her face and she was blank. And I just sent a text to Brianna. I was like, Brianna, this is what's happening. You need to take over. And they got on a call together and I eavesdropped and I heard Brianna talking to her and I heard her talking back. She didn't talk back to me, but she talked back to Brianna. And I was very pleased and I felt at peace. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay to let her hand go and let her start learning to fly. And I am just grateful and thankful that there is an organization like AIM who is so vested in the progress and success of my child. Like, I don't have to be looking over my shoulder. I am confident in, you know, their ability to make sure that she has the best pathway, the best opportunities, any opportunities that has come up that is beneficial to her, they let her know and they get her going, signed up for it. She also had an opportunity where she was going to a summer program at UFT, and Brianna was able to help her get ready for the interview, help her, you know, prepare her resume. So it's like a complete package. I feel the support that I need to get through this. And now I don't, like, seriously, I don't even bother. I am not worried. Like, there are little things that concern me and I just dump it on Nicole and Brianna and say, here are my worries. And it's like, at the end of that, I am, you know, fine. I'm at peace. And I remember AIM also about, I think it was development or something. And at the end of the workshop, Asia said to me, I have to go to bed early tonight. So I said, okay. She's like, and I need to start going to bed early because sleep is important. I said, but you just figuring this out? She's like, no, we discussed that today. So I was like, but I've been saying this for 16 years. So that was just another, you know, example that sometimes they don't need to hear it from us. And I am glad that she is at the front seat of seeing this all unfold, because even though my aim as a parent is to make sure that she goes through, you know, her tertiary education with as least debt as possible, I also want her to know that it doesn't come at no cost. I want her to be aware that things are not just handed to you, that you don't just get up tomorrow and walk into college, that there is work, there is preparation, there are goals that you set, you have to work towards those goals. And this whole process is opening that up for her and allowing her to see that, you know, it's not something that's just going to be handed to her. It's something that she's going to work towards. And I know that this is going to be life-changing for her. So that has been my experience. I just really want to thank the AIM team. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, everyone who plays a part in this. I am really thrilled. And now I am waiting for you to drop 2034 graduating class in the chat, because I have a 9-year-old that I am ready to dump off when you guys are ready for her.
That is 3 years after Joshua, and trust me, I'm not ready for Joshua's class. I know. But no, thank you so much for that, Janine. Thank you. I mean, let me just tell you, AIM is in a beautiful transition. As I said, it's so much about the holistic preparation of students for success in general, as opposed to for a particular college. And I love how we've added and really put emphasis on the values exercises, and you know, it's integrated into the process of college prep and of getting ready for these applications and of writing the essay. But the spin-off effects is like we're being so sneaky, they don't realize like exactly what we're doing, we're doing things that we know are going to help you in your life in general, but it is in the context of, yes, accomplishing this one goal. And then one of the sleep story I have to relate is in relation to our productivity masterclass, which we also have added. So we did the first one last August. And it's really about helping students understand how to manage themselves, manage their energy, their wellness. Even today, I was having a conversation with a student who said she loves her anxiety because it makes her perform very well. She gets so nervous and so scared and so afraid, and she winds herself up into this ball, but it pushes her to do the work. So that means it works. So it's okay. I said, girl, let's talk about that, because you're laughing, Peter, again, because we know at this age, we know we're like, listen, this is not the path you want to go down, okay? I had to be like to her, listen, after a while, that becomes unmanageable and it's not sustainable. And that is that you have this limited belief that that's the only way you can perform well. It's not actually true. Come, let me introduce you to another path that will not end in a gigantic meltdown, pop down, okay? Because you have the energy now and you think it's all great and you're like, oh, but you know, it went well. So that means this is working. This is the way I need to be. You don't actually have to be like that. So because we have a lot of high performing students who are not managing themselves and their energy well, they're drinking coffee, staying up all night, they're getting the grades, so they have the GPA and the great test scores and all of that. But is that what we want to teach as parents? That we know that that is not the way to a fulfilling and happy life, and as parents, we want that for our kids. So I've loved just expanding the definition of what it means to prepare students for their next steps beyond high school. So being able to have Asia in that program has been very special, because also having you in Goal Accelerator, Janine, is like, it's been just a very exciting adventure for our mother-daughter duo. So thank you so much. Dominique, go ahead. Oh, Dominique, you wanted to share something? Thank you so much, Janine. Thank you.
I forgot to mention that we're starting our July class at the end of this month, July. So our orientation is on the 31st, and our first mock exam is on the 28th of July, and they are taking the exam in October. So that will be the last sitting, the last time for all those who are applying in this upcoming cycle. You need to get an SAT score, you know, kind of immediately. So that July class is a perfect fit. And I put the link in the chat to sign up for the class that I'll have Nicole send out to everyone. And I'm excited to meet you all when you guys get into the class.
And we also, thank you so much for that, Dominique. And I also want to just mention that beyond just getting a high SAT score, the SAT program is called the College Gateway now. And it's a gateway to college because not only does it include the SAT class, it also includes college advising, group-based college advising, and a one-on-one meeting with one of our college advisors. That might be Chelsea, that might be Brianna, it might be another one of our counselors. And we haven't increased the price of the SAT class at all, but we have weaved, college advising into it because we had too many students getting high scores and then not ending up being able to translate those to actually getting into the schools they want to, getting the amount of money they needed, and then going off to the colleges that they wanted to go to, or going off to, an overseas college at all. And so because it's a system with many different moving parts, it does not make sense to just focus on the SAT, although that is very important. So it's called the College Gateway now because it includes college advising, and that's all tied in to the price of $1,150. I also want to mention, because I had a parent 2 days ago who was absolutely delighted. She's a college advising parent. She's in our college advising platinum program, right? And she did not realize that SAT classes were free if you are part of the college advising platinum program. So if you do college advising with us at the platinum level, it's completely free within that program. And if you do the gold level advising program with us, then you get a discount on SAT prep. And if you do SAT prep first and then sign on to one of those programs, you get the rebate. So no matter what, you'll be able to get those benefits. So thank you so much for reminding us, Dominique. Dominique is like, remember, they're supposed to sign up for the SAT class, Nicole. Thank you so much, because I really enjoy talking about parenting so much. Me and Janine could just sit here and talk about the kids and Peter Gay and what they're doing and what's happening and all of those things. So I'm going to share with you on the screen right now the discount, because you're in this, you're still here, and we are deeply appreciative of that. And that's a big deal. So we always share a discount with you for the class. And this is the discount. You just log on to this URL. You use the discount code OpenHouse24. It's valid for 24 hours. And then you can sign up for a College Gateway, which includes the SAT class as well as college advisory services, group college prep as part of that. So you can do that. I also want to invite students. Dominique, do you see your little self there? Is she gone already? She didn't see her little self. You do. Can anybody spot young Dominique? This was when she was just headed off to university. But this is our scholarship program. And I really want to encourage anyone here who is not able to afford the SAT class, or if you know of any students who are not able to afford the SAT class, but they're high potential students, please share this far and wide. You can take a picture of it, you can post it on your WhatsApp, wherever it is that you share information with your friends, put it in your group chat, tell your kids guidance counselor to send it out. These are online classes, so no matter where you are in the world, you can definitely do them, students can do them, so please share. Because we really want to change the lives of as many students as we can. We have payment plans. I love a payment plan. Is there anybody who does not love a payment plan? I love as you said, payment plans. See me here? Yay, I'll do that. I love payment plans. Anyways, yes, you can go to the website. We try to extend them as long as possible. They're always dependent on when the class ends, right? Because you know how this is. You have to finish paying before the service is finished being delivered. So that is how they're timed. So we have parents who sign up for their kids' SAT class 1 year in advance. I kid you not. We split their payments in 12. By the time they are finished paying for the SAT, like they pay $100 a month. They don't even notice. So by the time it's time for the kids to do the SAT class, they don't even feel like they paid at all. I love that. The earlier you start planning ahead, like we have a September class. If you start paying for that September class, which ends in October, you start paying in July. You would pay July, August, September. Well, you'd have 4 installments. So you'd pay like whatever, $200 and something a month. And so we try to just stretch it. We have a January class starting. You start paying for that. No, you pay 7 installments. And so we will split it up and we'll try to meet you where you are. And of course, please take advantage of the discount code, share it with your friends. And of course, please encourage any student that you know who you think would be good for this scholarship. aimonlineacademy.com/scholarships. We are so interested in having these students apply and really opening up a whole world for them. So we're thrilled. We thank you for being here. If you have questions, you want to find out more about the college advising program, you just want to find out more before you sign up for anything, I would encourage you to book a discovery call. You can go ahead and use this. What's that called this again? Barcode? What is this called again? Sorry, I'm exposing my age. Goodness gracious. You know what this is, right? Use your phone, scan it. Thank you. Thank you. Scan this and book a discovery call. You can chat with a member of the AIM team and they will be happy to tell you all about anything that you ask. And we are very much a fan of FIT, very much a fan of FIT. So if you are fit for the program, we are happy to welcome you. And if we don't feel you're a fit, especially at the college, most people can do the SAT class. Okay, it's not, it's a class. You can do the class and move from where you are. But not everyone is a fit for the college advising program. And so we want to make sure that your goals and what you expect we are aligned and aligned in our approach and expectations. So that normally will require a vetting, a sort of discovery call or initial consultation. So the last thing I want to do is also just give you the link for an initial consultation. Like if you want to sit down with Brianna and do that meeting that Janine spoke to and described doing with Asia, the initial meeting to sort of come up with a plan and get things figured out. That's a 1-hour meeting and you can definitely go ahead and book that and you can have that meeting next week. If, as a parent, I'll tell you this, looking at things from a systems perspective, there is, and I'm going to send out emails about this. I'm going to talk to parents about this in orientation. I would not have my child go through the SAT class without an initial consultation. You have to understand the context of the whole system and the student's profile and how does each of these things apply to my student and what is the exact plan for my student. And like they have to understand the exact plan. So like Lisa, your son should definitely do an initial because he needs to understand what are the specific deliverables for him. And it really just helps you to understand what's needed from you for the SAT and how it fits in with everything else and everything else that you have to do. Because you don't want to have a super high SAT score and then you don't do the other things. And then it doesn't work because it is a whole system. It is not just the SAT. So we hope we have made that clear for everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Friday evening. You have spent almost, you've spent an hour and a half with us, right? Or more. Janine, thank you. Wow, you're seeing a lot of me these days. The discovery call is 100% free. The initial consultation is not free. The discovery call is free. So please feel free to book it. It's free, so feel free to book it. So it's getting late. Thank you very much. Thank you. Take good care. Bye.